Welcome everybody, this is Niclas Huschenbeth and this is another game analysis from the Mitropa Cup where I'm playing right now. Third round, we played against Italy, the favorite in the tournament, the best team, and I was playing also against the strongest player in the tournament, Daniele Vocaturo, rated 26-16. So let's get to the game. For those of you who haven't seen any of the previous analysis, the Mitropa Cup is a team competition, 10 teams from Middle Europe playing against each other, and I'm playing for Germany on board 1. Now let's get to the game. I was playing with the black pieces, but I kind of flipped the board around, so just imagine from the black side. And my opponent started with 1 e4. I played the Najdorf, as I usually do. And he surprised me early on, right here in the 7th move. He played this rare idea, very interesting, a3, which is already prophylactic against b5, b4. And the opponent said after b5, which I played, now white plays g4. If he plays g4 immediately, that has some drawbacks, but I'm guessing that now e5 wouldn't be as good because black has weakened himself more on this diagonal, so in some variations there's probably some drawback, and I didn't want to find out exactly what he had in mind here, so I just played normal moves, bishop b7, bishop g2. Here I already retreated with my knight to d7 because he'll play g5 anyway, and that's what he did now. Now I develop this knight to c6, castle, develop my bishop to e7, attacking the pawn g5, he took on c6, and he played f4 to protect the pawn. I castled as well, and he played queen g4. And here I wasn't too sure what to think of the position because, well, white has a lot of space here obviously, but also his king is on the same side of the board, so the more he pushes his pawns forward there, the more open his king will be as well. On the other hand, this is kind of scary looking for me if something happens here. So I played the prophylactic move rook e8, just in case I can bring my bishop back if he follows through with f5, f6. So I like this move now. He played rook a1, that makes sense, bring the rook into a game. Here I play bishop f8 and not sure about this move. Maybe I should play something like a5, maybe rook c8, but bishop f8 I think at this point is not necessary yet. And here he surprised me. He played e5, and this is in fact not a good move. I was more afraid of something like rook f3, rook h3, and it's quite unclear. He can do something like this, but whenever he goes queen h4 now, then I can go h5, and I'm just not sure what to think of this position. There may be also ideas to bring the knight over to g3 and then to sacrifice on h5. It is a little bit scary for black. Might be okay, but it is definitely scary for black. Anyway, after e5, the position changes completely. So let's see what happens here. I take on g2, he takes with the queen, and here I have many moves actually. And I played the move queen c7, which is fine. I could also go d5, and here I'm not even sure what he wanted to do. I guess he would take on d5 with the knight. Because if he doesn't do it, then I can, for example, play g6, and it will be very difficult to get some play for him here because he's blocked to play f5. But after knight takes d5, takes, this is actually a draw, which I kind of saw, but I don't know, I kind of disregarded it again because I felt my position was fine already anyway. Rook e7, bishop c5, and rook e8 back, and it would be a repetition of moves. There are also other moves. Knight b6 is possible. D takes e5 is also possible, which I didn't realize during the game because I thought queen c6 would win a piece, but here I have e takes f4, intermediate move, and after bishop takes f4 I can give a check and then a pawn up, so that wouldn't work for white, and he would actually need to sacrifice the pawn here, play something like knight e4, and it's also quite unclear. Anyway, queen c7 is fine. Now he took on d6, bishop takes. Here queen d2 does not win the piece, because after bishop c5 I will not lose one, so this is okay for black. And he played knight to e4, bishop f8, rook d3, and here I took some time and didn't have that much time left. Like I had half an hour and I spent like 10 minutes or more, and I didn't take a good decision here. I was too scared here, too worried. I played king h8, that's not necessary. Yeah, I should just play knight b6 here. I was too afraid here that I would get checkmated with the knight and the rook coming here. But actually after rook a8, rook h3, I don't know. Now that I look at it after a game, it's always different. You feel like, what was I so afraid of? But yeah, here I can just go queen d4, bring the queen closer. And yes, he can play rook g1. And yes, now there is a threat knight f6, but I can play queen d5 and defend everything. Of course, computer is cool and no problem. But during the game, I was afraid here, so I didn't want to go for this, but I should. Also, rook a8 would be fine as well. There I was scared of rook c3 and the rook coming to c6. But okay, this looks artificial, and also black is okay here if he gives a pawn with rook c8 and then plays knight c5. Okay, easy to say afterwards with the computer during the game. I didn't feel comfortable, played king h8 just to go out of all these checks and also to be able to play queen b7, for example, to rook c3, because now he cannot win the queen anymore if he gives a check with, because there's no check for the knight. He played rook to f3. Interesting, he wants to bring this rook to h3 and he goes all in for the attack. And here once again, I was quite scared, didn't have much time, and yeah, I could just play a normal move like rook a c8 or something like this and would be okay. And if he goes rook h3, I can play king g8 and it's okay. But I saw this defensive idea f5 and I said, okay, this looks interesting and definitely changes the position and probably it's okay for black. So g takes f6, knight takes f6. So now I want to trade this powerful knight on e4 and he goes rook h3, still continuing the attack. I played rook a d8, maybe queen f7 immediately was also decent. Yeah, but okay, rook a d8, bishop d4, and this looked very scary and also didn't have much time left. But I found queen f7, which was quite important, I think. And here he could get an advantage if he takes on f6 and then plays queen e4, which is a move we both missed, threatening bishop takes f6. And I have to play bishop e7. I cannot trade the bishop as I would like with bishop c5 or something like this. Here it doesn't work. And white is a little bit better. Still, black still in the game here. He played knight g5, after which he doesn't have an advantage. I just go queen to g6. And now it all works out for black. He played knight f3. If he takes on f6, I just take back. And rook h7 just doesn't lead anywhere. And now his knight is attacked, his rook is attacked. This would be bad. And if he takes with the knight, this would be also bad because I'm trading a lot of pieces. And then the knight is trapped on h7. So this doesn't work. And he played knight f3 back. Here I could trade queens, but I wasn't too sure about the endgame. It's also completely fine for black. But I saw this other move, queen e4, and I liked it. Looks nice and active, and it posed some problems to him. And here he made a mistake. I thought he would maybe just repeat moves, play knight g5 again. He can also play something like queen g3, I think. But he played rook e3, and here I can just pick up the pawn. And rook h4 is another mistake actually by him. Now, I was already happy, so I didn't look at anything else here. But what can black do here? Stop the video for a moment and think about what I could have done here with black. So I play queen c7 and I'm just a pawn up here pretty much. He doesn't have good compensation and I'm doing well, but I was able to win here on the spot with queen takes h4. Just a move that I didn't consider. Knight takes and rook takes d4, threatening the knight, and the knight cannot come back because of rook g4. Not so simple everything, because white can also protect the knight with queen h3, but then bishop c5 is strong. And this is a problem for white, and I threaten rook d1. And it looks like, well, white is just busted here. So black is winning. Okay, missed that one. But queen c7, I was happy with my position. And we're both very short on time now. Just a few minutes, 2-3 minutes for both of us. So very tricky. But the position was easier to play for me. He played c3 and now I trade these bishops. I want to get rid of the strong bishop on d4. queen to e2, and I take the bishop, take the rook, and I'm a pawn up, plus his king is weak, so I'm doing really well here. Now he takes d4, e5, keeping the pawn. He plays queen f3, I cannot take, because then there's check and checkmate. But I don't have to take, obviously, so I play queen c5. Now I threaten to take, because I cover f8. He goes queen f5, now he pins the pawn this way. I play queen d6, knight f3, and here repeated moves. He has to come back, because if he protects the rook, I can attack with knight d5. The rook is pinned right now. So knight comes back, come back here, and now I go to b6. He has to do the same thing, and here the difference is now I can play g6, because my knight is protected by the queen. He goes queen to f2, which is a mistake. He should play queen f3. I mean, his position is lost anyway, but he should play queen f3. But he played queen f2, and here could win on the spot again. And I saw the move, which of course you see it immediately, knight g4 comes to mind, right? The fork. But then I saw queen f7, and I thought for a moment about it, but I had less than a minute on the clock, and I was just too worried here. And I think if this had been my 40th move, knight g4, I might have played it, but I still had to make one more move here with under a minute to go, and I knew this would be very risky. Black is winning here if he plays queen d8 or rook b8. Also other moves are possible, but queen d8 and rook b8 are both +4 for black. But it is a little bit scary with the queen, and also you have to see rook h3, something like this, but black can just go h5, and then he has ideas of his own. So yes, this was another chance to end the game right away pretty much, but I played queen d6, and I was quite happy here. Made the time control now with knight d5, still pawn up, and still white has a very weak king, so I was very content here, and I thought, okay, I'm going to take this one home. So this is the position, knight f4 now. My knight is on a beautiful square on f4, and his knight is, well, the pawn is still pinned, so he played queen e3, and here I play queen d5, which is fine. I can also play something like queen d7, I thought about it, but queen d5 looked good, centralize the queen. Knight to f3, and here it's not so simple actually. I spent a lot of time, actually too much time probably, because we got another half an hour, but half an hour is not much after time control, to figure out what I can do. And I thought, okay, it's smart to bring the king closer, but maybe I should just put the king on g8 to be not in any kind of checks if he ever takes on e5. Maybe king g8 is smarter. Anyways, the position is winning, but it's not that simple for black. I played king g7. He played an interesting idea, b3, which I didn't see, and I thought, okay, he wants to go c4 maybe. But actually, okay, computer is very cool. He just now wants to play king g8 and say, okay, if you go c4, no problem, just take. Play queen e6 first, threaten queen g4, and now after king h1, now take on c4, because white cannot take on e5 now. That's the point where the king has to be on h1, since here black goes queen d5 and wins queen e4. There is rook takes e5, winning. So, well, I thought I have to do something, otherwise he plays c4, and I didn't want to take on b3 either because of knight takes e5. So I went knight d3, he played rook e2, and now I looked at the position, I thought, oh, this looks very strong, rook f8. What about this move? But I'm slowly losing my way here, it feels like. Position is still good, but it's getting trickier and trickier, and my pieces are not that stable anymore. The knight on d3 also not that stable. So he plays knight g5, good move. If he takes on e5, I win with knight f4. So this doesn't work. He plays knight g5, and I played rook f4. I was quite happy. I thought, okay, rook g4 is a strong threat. The rook is well placed, but he just calmly plays h3. And here I was getting more and more nervous, because there's just no way to simplify the position and still some piece on the board. And if something goes wrong, maybe I even lose this. Who knows? Here I should play h6. Queen a7 doesn't lead anywhere, because I just go king f6, and here there are no more checks, and his pieces are far away from his own king. So you should go knight e4, and here I could play knight c1 and force the exchange of knights, and then again I can try to win this position for a long time. Very good chances, obviously. So I didn't see this. I played king h6 instead, but I wasn't happy here, knight e4, because now it's not clear what I'm even doing next. Actually, best move would be to come back to g7. I played a5. I thought I can improve my position here a little bit. But now if he plays king h2, my pieces are so tangled up, it's actually a draw. It should be equal. But he wanted to simplify immediately, and this was a mistake. He played knight f6, queen f3, knight g4 check, and here I made a mistake. I played king g7. I should go forward to h5. The point is that if he takes on e5 now, like he did in the game, I can take back and now play rook f5, and this is deadly because of rook g5 coming. Queen e3, rook g5, rook g2 wins the queen, wins the game. But honestly, I didn't have much time left here, and I didn't see knight takes e5 at all. So yeah, just on instinct, I decided to put my king on g7 because I didn't want to run into any checks on e5. He should try queen takes f3, but this endgame is very promising with the active king. This is probably just winning for black. Alright, so king g7, and when I played this move I realized, oh, he can just take on e5, which I intuitively didn't consider because I thought, okay, I have a check on f1, this almost looks like mate, but if I give the check, he just goes to h2, nothing more happens. So here my clock was ticking down to seconds now, and I had to make a move, obviously, and I didn't want to lose some time, and I still want to try something, and I found the best way to keep on playing, which is take, and play king h6. Pawns are equal again, but my king is a little bit safer, and his pawns on the queen side are a bit weak. So queen e3, but here already I thought, okay, this is probably going to be a draw in a few moves. I thought, okay, let's just make some more moves. a4 to fix the pawns here, takes. And here, yeah, maybe he should just play king h2. Okay, he played queen d2. And now I went out of the pin, king h5. And here played rook g2. Computer says queen e1. Okay, in any case, the position is not that easy for white because his king is still unsafe and the rook endgames can be tricky. So he still has to be careful. Rook g2. Now I played rook f5. And queen d7, step in the wrong direction for white already. Just king h2 here would have been better. Queen d7, check. I gave some checks to win some time. Actually, he could play rook g3 here. This would be an improvement. But he played king h1 back. And now I played king h6, which is a good move to protect the pawn. I don't want to go h6 because then he can go after the g6 pawn. So I go king h6, and now my king is safe, my pawns are safe, and white has to make a move, and here he makes a losing mistake. He plays queen d3. The only move, I think, is queen d4. When the rook endgame is a draw. I was considering rook d5 here, but also rook f3. I'm winning this pawn, but white has enough counterplay here with his own d-pawn. He can push it all the way and then play rook d4. And this is a draw because once the pawn reaches a2, white can just give up this pawn as well, and his rook is behind his pawn. And even though black is up 2 pawns, he cannot win here. So yeah, queen d4 was the way to go. He played queen d3. And now I can go into his rook endgame. This rook endgame is winning because I go rook c1. And the point is that after rook g4, which I think was his plan, I don't take on c3 right away. I give a check first. This is the important point. And now either he goes to g3 and I can pick up both pawns, or he goes to the first rank and I attack the pawn h3. And with these connected pawns, this is easily winning for black. So he had to defend the pawn with rook g3, but now I can also force his king to a first rank, and the king cutoff on the first rank is usually bad sign for the defender. And now I bring my king closer, and here we have another critical position. I saw his plan. He wants to come over here and then start pushing his pawn, so I have to do something. And I decided to go after the h3 pawn, but the simplest way to win this would actually be to just push the pawns, because he will not be in time just rook a2 and just keep on pushing. Would have been very simple, but I didn't have much time to calculate. I was worried about the c pawn, but if I had calculated this line, then it's pretty straightforward and just winning for black here. c5, g3, and he's just one move too slow, c6, g2, and that's it. He has to give up the rook, and I'll just stop his pawn, and that's it. So this was the way to win. But rook h2 is also fine. Just still a little bit tricky here because he gets the pawn on a4. But I have two connected pass pawns, plus his king is cut off. So this is still winning for black. g5, rook a5, g4. Yeah, rook h5 doesn't help him now. I can just go to g3, obviously. So he goes c4. And here, there's a very simple way to win, actually. So let's make this another question for you guys. How should black play here? What do you guys think? So just give a check. I was so fixed on the idea of the king has to be cut off on the first rank that I didn't consider this move, but it's just very simple. I give a check. I play g3, and this pawn, well, is about to queen. He has to go rook h5, but now I have won a few tempi, and then I can just push the pawn forward. He will be too slow, way too slow, and it's a simple win for black. So this was, yeah, a way to win the game. But I played king g3, and I thought, okay, I also just push h5 and so on, but I missed his idea. He played rook d5, and I saw it too late. Rook d5, very nice idea to bring the rook behind the pawn here. And yeah, this is a strong idea. And now I made a mistake, and it's a draw. Once again, still rook h1 wins, and then h5. This still wins. But already trickier than before, of course. If I go h5 immediately, then he gives his check, and he brings the rook behind the pawn, and he has some nice counterplay here. So this seems to be a draw. So I played rook c2, but now he goes c5, and his rook is just perfectly placed on d5, and just have to give him credit here. Really good defense here. And now it's a draw because the rook stops the pawn, and he has also this pawn, and they're just pushing. Here my clock was ticking down, and I didn't see a good way to continue really. So I played king h4, but it just doesn't do anything here because I'm too slow, and if I go h5 I just take too long. And I was also scared that maybe I'll lose somehow against the pawns, I don't know. So I played rook a2, c6, played rook c2 back, rook d6, rook c5. Now I'm stopping the pawns, but here he can play in different ways, but he just gave up this pawn. Now play c7. I have to play this, and now he wins this pawn, and this is a draw. Without the pawn would be winning for black, but with the pawn it's just a draw. And yeah, we played it out till the end. He can do pretty much anything here, but he decided to just run towards his own pawn, which makes sense. And now we both give our rooks for the pawn, and the kings remain, and it is a draw. So great fight until the bare kings. Of course, many missed opportunities for me here. At least 4, I think, clear ones. 2 in the rook endgame, then queen takes h4 before, knight g4. Yeah, that should do it. And yeah, great fight. In the end, unfortunately, I couldn't quite pull it off here. Strong defense. And well, that's why it's 26-16. Not easy to beat, but yeah, I should have accomplished it, but okay, just couldn't quite. In the decisive moments, I didn't have enough time, unfortunately, but okay, this just means better time management next time. So we lost the match as well, unfortunately, 1-3 against Italy. Tough match, but well, tournament is still on, and we hope to bounce back soon. Hope you guys enjoyed the analysis. Let me know if you have any questions, and if you want to see more of this, then please feel free to subscribe and also like the video. All right, see you guys next time. Bye bye.